So in case you forgot, this is Guilty Gear, aka a game about war, aka the only character that people like are their mains and they hate everyone else's characters, so we must revisit the politely named why Guilty Gear players strongly dislike. And the character we're going to talk about today is Zato 1. So Zato is actually pretty interesting. So in this game, he was not considered very strong when the game came out, but after the October patch, I think he got a lot of the juice he needed. And he's a kind of interesting character in that he is very relevant in tournaments, but also is somewhat polarizing from a matchup perspective. It is generally considered that Zato loses to Ram. Ram, very popular character for tournaments. It is also said that he struggles against Axel, and somewhat even Faust. Happy Chaos, predictably, is not a very fun one either. But despite that, this character has had really good results in this game, and quite frankly, one of the jokes I made about this game is that you know it's a real Guilty Gear game because Zato is good. So to start, we do need to take a little blast from the past.
Fellas, let me tell you about real Guilty Gear real quick. Lord Ogawa, right? Overhead not blocked. He bursts at some point. So this is an unblockable. And because of his resource, he does unblockable into unblockable again. Then he gets another unblockable, and he fucking wins the game. All skill, baby.
That was an extreme example, of course. That's from an older version of the Guilty Gear, but that just plays a lot into why people don't like him very much. So we're going to start with the actual type of character that he is. Zato is a Puppet Archetype character. So we see this way more in the anime Arc System Works fighters than more traditional slower games like Street Fighter. So what that means is while he's here alone, he also can summon a friend. It's his shadow, Eddie, and you can control the two at the same time. So because of this though, generally what they do is him alone is not too special, besides he usually has like a couple of big buttons. So like in this game it's like 2S, his 5H is disjointed, he's got some screen control in Invite Hell Drill. But what really puts things together is attacking with the combination of him and his shadow. So he could choose to punch with the shadow, he could choose to do an anti-air with the shadow, he can summon drills with the shadow, projectiles with multiple hits, and he has a new armor move that will eat almost everything and counter into big damage. So just this archetype alone leans really heavily into why people don't like this. There's a few things about him being a puppet character. One, it's a massive, enormous knowledge check. What do I mean by knowledge check? So Guilty Gear is full of these. These are, if you don't know what to do about this, then good game, my friend. To be fair, I play a character with a bunch of knowledge checks too, Milia. How many times have you heard people say things like they can mash Milia out of like this setup, for example? The thing is though, while maybe a character like, let's say Milia or Nago or maybe like Soul and Kyle have knowledge checks, but maybe not like too many, like once you play a few games against somebody and maybe ask a couple questions, you're in the clear. Because these characters are so technical, because you're controlling two characters at the same time. So there are different ways you could put Zato and Eddie attacking at the same time. And what you do to deal with this is usually more involved and very character specific. Puppet characters in general lean way more into knowledge checking you than other characters, but it's not their fault. It really is that they are more technical because you do have to manually control the two characters. So it really is on the opponent to know what can come, like what type of sequences can come from these two characters. That being said, he is definitely on the Milia lane of not letting you do what you want to do as a character, even in this version. So for example, he has this move. This is Oppose. This is actually a new move to Strive. So Oppose armors pretty much everything. There's not a lot of counterplay to Oppose. Their response is like using meter to hit them both at the same time, because that will make Eddie go away. Or you can use a jump cancelable move so that you can retreat to safety. However, if you get hit by Oppose, you'll get hit by 2H, and this combo is massive damage. Another major factor about him is that he can reflect projectiles. So there's some games where your strategy is to try to stay far away and try to attack them both at the same time using projectiles or maybe using jump cancelable moves. So we're going to use Kyle as an example. You're all probably familiar with Stunnage. This is his main projectile that he uses. And my boy Zato just goes boop. No big deal. Charge damage maybe? Again, no big deal. You're not going to run away too much, and you're also not going to swing into opposed and take 70%. So now what? Now what makes this hard is, again, this is 2 characters at the same time, and you can manually control what he does. So there are times where he will, let's say, protect the sky with the frog, but also run up and control the ground at the same time. So his screen presence is also very, very good. And if you're ever unfortunate enough to actually block Eddie in neutral, so the shadow, then it leads into his very strong offensive sequences. So because his shadow attacks have a lot of frame advantage and it's moving independently of him, he has ways of setting up not only high and low mix-ups, but also he can sneak in command grabs, sneak in left-right mix-ups as well. So it ends up being pretty tough. So he doesn't really let you play the game that you want to play. You have to play a very specific game against him and his shadow at the same time. He has really good neutral control. You can't really zone him that well. And then when he does catch you with something random, he's going to be rushing you down. And one of his really, really big advantages, and people feel this really hard, one thing that's really important in Guilty Gear in general is getting people to feel the impact of what is happening. So there are plenty of examples in Guilty Gear in general where something happens that it doesn't actually matter that it happened. So I'm gonna use my own main as an example, right? I'll use Milia. In the previous version, Milia had a special move called Capel. It's an air special move. It's designed to be an anti-air. So one of its uses is that you can use it to beat people who are stopping you in the air with like 6p, like mashing 6p under you. So the problem is, last game, all you can really get if you hit somebody is this. One of the big buffs to this move in this game is that you actually get to combo them. So you did not get to combo them before. And because of this, people did not give a fuck about getting hit by this move at all. It drove me nuts. But it is actually an important thing to recognize in Guilty Gear when hits that you take don't matter versus when hits that you take do matter. Whereas Zato, one thing that's really scary about him is that he's able to use these shadow attacks from very far, and just you blocking it has a lot of threat because he gets to immediately convert that into strong offense. So just him doing like this, like he has you down and the shadow is ready to go. Or another example, if he actually gets you to block this in neutral, that's really bad. He's going to pull up all the way behind it and follow up with offense. Pierce too. So this move is very, very juiced. It's basically instant. He can convert this into various situations, either protecting it using a pose. If he hits your backdash, he either gets a combo or he gets an offensive situation. So every time Eddie hits you or catches you blocking, they both lead into bad situations. While it's simple, it's a pretty straightforward reason why people strongly dislike Zato. He doesn't really let you play the game you want to play, but everything he does, you feel the impact of it. It's not to say that this character doesn't have his weaknesses. Like, he has bad guts, which means he takes a ton of damage. He doesn't have a good defense modifier. He doesn't convert all his hits into combos, even though he converts a lot of his hits into combos. For the most part, a lot of the stuff he does to you, you feel the impact immediately, and you might even feel like it's game ending. In Zato's case in particular, this thing really matters for whether or not he is good or not. He has swung quite a bit on the tier list depending on what game you're talking about. When people talk about, for example, GGXX Accent Core Zato, they talk about it like it's a nightmare, like it's one of his best versions. Or like Sharp Reload is another one as far as old games. Where in Plus R, he's not, to my knowledge, he's not like a super standout character compared to the more commonly complained characters like Testament or Zappa. Where in Exerd, he started super strong, but they just kept nerfing him over and over and over again. In Strive, it seems like they started in the reverse. So like, he didn't start that hot, but right now he's considered to be quite strong. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.